she is Empress, beloved by Franz Joseph, beloved by the people. Yet she is not happy. Her children are taken from her. She starves, flees away to Hungary, to England. She is the triumph and her deepest sorrow. Elizabeth became an early mother. At 17, she gave birth to her first child, little Sophie. Hardly born, Archduchess Sophie took the child from her. She dictated the clothing and the daily routine.
Geben Sie mir mein Kind.
Ich bestimme über seine Erziehung.
Ich werde sicherstellen, dass sie ihre Rolle ausfüllen kann. Aber ich bin ihre Mutter.
Elizabeth was only allowed to see her daughter at scheduled times. In 1857, the 20-year-old Sisi accompanied her husband on a trip to Hungary. Against doctors' advice, she takes 2-year-old Sophie with her, who falls gravely ill and dies at just 2 years old. For Elizabeth, it's a shock. The public holds her responsible. They claim she subjected the child to the hardships. Sisi falls into depression. I can't take it anymore. She withdraws, leaving the upbringing of the other children entirely to her mother-in-law. A year after Sophie, Gisela is born. A well-behaved, conforming child, diligent, obedient, conventional. The opposite of her mother. There is never any closeness between them. In 1858, the longed-for heir, Rudolf, is born. Elizabeth is 20 years old, but he also becomes estranged from her. At the age of 5, he is handed over to a harsh tutor. The training is inhuman. Wake-up calls with gunshots, marches in the cold, intimidation. Rudolf almost breaks under it. That's when 23-year-old Elizabeth steps in for the first time. She presents Franz Joseph with an ultimatum: either the tutor leaves or I will. An unheard-of move for an empress, but the emperor gives in. Rudolf gets a gentler teacher. Sisi has achieved her first victory. Yet, deep inside, she remains torn apart. The defeats as a mother have left lasting scars. Elizabeth crafts her own weapons. She starves, tightens her corset painfully, achieving a wasp waist that shocks all. She exercises like a maniac, rides, marches, drives carriages, even smokes. Her body turns into a battlefield in protest, but it collapses. Fever, cough, exhaustion. I can't take it anymore. Majesty, you must rest. The doctors send her to Madeira and Venice. She is recovering, but she will never be healthy again. These journeys, however, open up a new world for her, the escape. Travel becomes her outlet, her method of breaking free from the confines of the prison. As early as 1857, the 20-year-old Elizabeth had fallen in love with Hungary, a country that is different from Vienna. Wild, proud, full of life. She adores the dances, the music, and the freedom, and the people adore her. 1862. Elizabeth is 25 and surprises the court. She wants to learn Hungarian. Her teacher, Ida von Ferenzi, becomes her confidant. They practice for hours, often during hairstyling. No one understands what she's saying. Hungarian becomes her secret language. Through Ida, she also reaches the ideas of the liberals. Count Andrássy, names that are considered dangerous in Vienna. For Elizabeth, it's more than just politics. Hungary will become her second home. Here, she finds what Vienna denies her: recognition and love. Then comes the pivotal year of 1866. Elizabeth is 29 years old. Austria wages war against Prussia and Italy. At Königgrätz, the empire suffers a catastrophic defeat. The monarchy teeters perilously on the edge of the abyss. Elizabeth flees to Hungary with the children, a political stroke of luck as her presence calms the country. The Hungarians deeply admire her and heed her words. In Budapest, Count Andrássy successfully gains her influence. He persuades her that only a compromise with Hungary can save the monarchy. Sisi urges Franz Josef, finally make peace now. But the emperor hesitates. Since 1848, he has ruled authoritatively. He fears being bound by a coronation. To a people, to a constitution, he has no other choice left. The defeat was far too devastating. Venice is lost, and Prussia will ascend to become the new dominant force in Germany. Your Majesty, we have no other choice. Then so be it. This is a twist in the plan. 1 year later, the unexpected happens. Franz Josef agrees. In June 1867, they parade through Budapest in the golden coronation carriage. Elizabeth is 30 years old and in her prime. She is wearing a magnificent dress in the Hungarian style. Cheer erupts. The crowd celebrates their beloved queen. This is her triumph, Sisi's political peak and her second home. In gratitude, the Hungarians gift her Gödöllö castle, a paradise full of horses, forests and hunts. In 1868, her youngest daughter, Marie Valerie, is born there, known as the Hungarian child. This time, Elizabeth is allowed to decide about the upbringing and her life. At last, a child truly belongs to her. Yet this victory is not without its shadows. The closeness to Valerie only intensifies the estrangement from Gisela and Rudolf. From childhood, Elizabeth adored horseback riding, a passion she shared with Franz Josef. In Vienna's Prater, her rides become a sensation, drawing eager crowds. Everything is perfectly matched: dress, hat, horse, a performance like theatre. After the coronation, Gödöllö becomes her riding haven. She trains with circus riders, leaps through hoops, gallops cross-country, often as the only woman, admired for her boldness. Riding becomes her elixir of life and her weapon against the confines of the court. After her triumph, Elizabeth was restless. Hungary was her paradise, but she wanted more. New challenges, new escapes. The heart of equestrian art was in England. Fox hunts, risky, bold, a sport for the elite. In 1874, under the pretext that the 6-year-old Valerie needed sea air, the 37-year-old Empress travelled to England and Ireland. The court is appalled. She snubs Queen Victoria, yet in London, the crowds cheer her enthusiastically.
Majestät, darf ich Ihnen Bay Middleton vorstellen?
Ich habe von ihren Jagden gehört.
At Earl Spencer's, she meets Bay Middleton, England's most famous rider. Strict, relentless, precisely what she seeks.
Bleiben Sie dicht bei mir, Majestät.
Under his training, she excels. She races across fields, through hedges, over walls, keeping pace with the leading men. Only a few reach the goal. Elizabeth is among them. Soon it is said that no woman in Europe rides better. But even here rumours follow, conveyed by more than one teacher. Most historians believe not, but Elizabeth is enthusiastic.
England gefällt mir nicht mehr. Ich werde meine Pferde verkaufen.
In 1876, when Middleton married, the 39-year-old Empress felt hurt and deeply disappointed. She completely cuts off all contact, sells her horses, and never sets foot in England again. For Sisi, England stays a short-lived triumph, a chapter of glory and also of pain. Once again, she found something wonderful and lost it again. In this time of disappointment, Elizabeth finds comfort in someone who understands her. While the world celebrates her as a queen and equestrian, she seeks something else. And she ultimately finds it with her cousin, Ludwig II of Bavaria.
Nur in der Kunst finde ich Freiheit.
Even as a child, Ludwig had admired her, now in the late 18th century, they meet regularly at Lake Starnberg.
Ein König ohne Reich. Ein Mensch mit Träumen.
Elizabeth is around 40, Ludwig in his early 30s. Both have experienced their dreams and disappointments. They take a walk, exchange poems, talk about music, about Wagner, about the burden of the crown. It's not romantic love, but a soul friendship. Two individuals who feel trapped inside a gilded cage. He escapes into fairy tale castles and operas, she into travels and horses, and both know deep down that the other understands what no one else truly grasps. For Elisabeth, Ludwig is a mirror. In him, she sees how a sensitive person can crumble under the weight of the crown. And perhaps she senses that she too is on this path. Only with Marie Valerie does Elizabeth experience what she had always longed for: closeness, love, trust. She spends hours with her. They read, they play, they tell stories. For the first time, she has control over education, clothing, teachers, and she thrives in it. But this close bond also has a price. Marie Valerie grows up in her mother's shadow, overprotected, almost like a prisoner of her love. Even as an adult, she would write about herself: "I never belonged to myself, I was always just my mother's child." So Valerie becomes her support, but also a burden. What Elizabeth gains with her, she loses with Gisela and Rudolf. The alienation grows. And Franz Josef? He loves Elizabeth until the end, but he doesn't understand her. He is a man of duty, a life in documents, audiences, armies. She, on the other hand, is a woman of longing, freedom, escape.
Elisabeth, bleib in Wien.
Ich kann nicht.
He keeps asking her to stay in Vienna. She keeps leaving. Their marriage soon becomes just letters, brief meetings, formal events. What started as a love story has turned into mere coexistence. For Franz Josef, the Hofburg is an office, but for Elizabeth, it feels like a prison. So Elizabeth lives in two worlds, celebrated as the Queen of Hungary, admired as a rider in England, understood as Ludwig's soulmate. As a mother, close to Valerie, yet distant from her other children. And as a woman, increasingly distant from her emperor. The shadows grow longer. She's past 40. Rudolf, now 20, carries deep scars. Gisela stays cool and distant, finding her anchor solely in Marie Valerie. Elizabeth seems to have triumphed. Yet she grows ever more restless, constantly fleeing from country to country, castle to castle, as if trying to escape her own soul. The triumphs cannot fill the inner void. Where this flight is heading, that's exactly what you'll discover in part 3.